I am here today to talk about Kurt Vonnegut's Who Am I This Time? Um, I'm in my, as you can see, I'm in my living room by my desk. That person in the background that you see is a cardboard cutout of Neil deGrasse Tyson because my daughter is obsessed with him. So Neil is in our living room. Anyway, I am really excited to talk about this short story, and I'm excited that I get to gush over it, like as a reader, and before I really launch into an analysis of it, because I do like Kurt Vonnegut a lot, and I hadn't read him in a while, and so when we were talking about, or when Neil posted his 8 rules for short story writing, I remembered how much I like him and started getting into his short stories again. So I decided to do this one just because I've been into reading his short stories lately. So, I mean, I guess the first thing that I want to talk about that I really love about this short story is I love the narrative voice. I tend to like a lot of writing from the like 40s and 60s era. They seem to, like, a lot of those guys mostly tend to have the same kind of casual voice, and I like a lot of movies from that era, so like the dialogue is kind of cool and rhythmic in a way that I really like, and I think that's the number one thing that I like about this short story is I like reading certain parts of it out loud, like so. And I don't even know if the narrator is named. I didn't write that down. I try to take as much notes as possible. But I like that, like on page 16, when he's talking about Harry, and he says, he was too shy. He didn't stay away from meetings because he had something else to do. He wasn't married. He didn't go out with women. Didn't have any close men friends either. He stayed away from all kinds of gatherings because he never could think of anything to say or do without a script. And I like that. We don't see too many. I mean, we get that explanation of Harry before we even meet him, so we're told this and not shown at first. But I don't care. Like I really like this description anyway. And well, I'll get into that later. I was about to jump ahead of myself. The other thing I really like on page 17. In terms of his voice is I like, and I don't know why I like this paragraph so much, but he says, when I told him there in Miller's that I'd been appointed director, that I wanted him in my play, he said what he always said to anybody who asked him to be in a play, and it was kind of sad if you think about it. Who am I this time? He said. I don't know why I like that, but that's kind of that narrative voice that I really like when he says, and it was kind of sad. It was kind of sad if you think about it. Like, he's saying you, and he's kind of telling you what to think, and you don't really know who he's talking to, but again, I don't care. Like, I just like the way that it sounds as a reader, and it keeps me reading. Like, his voice, this narrative voice, who's, I don't think we even get his name, keeps me reading. The other thing I really like, if I could gush just a little further, besides the rhythm, is like I like the dialogue a lot. I'm a big dialogue fan. One thing that I remember when I took a workshop like when I was an undergrad, and I remember one of my teachers saying that one of the things to do in dialogue is when one character says yes, essentially the other character says no. And that's a good way to like create some tension, and I feel like he does that a lot in his dialogue, and it's also very realistic. Like I can hear these people talking, and and sometimes he repeats, and again, I really don't care that he repeats. I feel like it adds to the voice, because sometimes people in real life repeat themselves and it becomes part of their character. I mean, it can get too wordy and all that stuff, but I love it anyway. On page 19, when he says, when Harry's reacting and he gets the part, and I like how the director pretends like he's not going to get the part, like he's acting with Harry, because Harry wants to believe that he might not have a chance when he's really a shoo-in for it. And he says, he was very pleased, Thanks a lot, he said, and shook my hand. Like, he doesn't have to say thanks a lot, but I can hear him doing that. It's just believable to me. And the other thing, if you look on page, I think it's 23. I used to, like I said, I went through a really big Kurt Vonnegut phase. I tried to read all of his books. I don't think I succeeded, but I tried. And what Kurt Vonnegut does a lot in dialogue is he'll have characters respond, like on page 23, when Helene is like, her head is somewhere else, and the director says, "Helene," I said, "Miss Shaw?" She said, and it's just an MF question mark in response. And she says it again a little further down. And there's another part where Helene is talking to Harry, and he just says, period. And Kurt Vonnegut does do that a lot. There's a lot of periods. And I remember when I first read that, that was one of the moments I had as a reader, like as a writer reading, was that I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know that you could have a character just say, period. Do you know what I mean? Like, I liked that, and I really don't know why, but I kind of do. Like, it shows that they're thinking a little bit, like their head might be somewhere else, or they just don't know what to say. And so I went through a phase in my dialogue where I did have people say, period, modeling Kurt Vonnegut. So that's mostly what I wanted to gush over. And I just like, and I'll talk about this again in a second, but I like how it ends happy. I kind of, like, they do get married within a short period of time of knowing each other, but I think this came out in 1961. It was the early 60s, late 50s, and I know that's what people did, because it wasn't okay to just, like, sleep together, or when people did sleep together, they had to get married, because you weren't supposed to do that with anybody other than your spouse. So from what I understand from that period of time, people did get married within a short time of knowing each other. But I like that it ends that way. I really like I love Helene and Harry. I think that they're quirky and interesting, but I'll go into that in a second. So as far as my, like, technical analysis or whatever of the story, which sometimes feels unnatural to do. I will say that, like, as a reader, I don't usually like thinking too much about what I'm reading. I don't even really like thinking about what I do or do like about it sometimes. I just kind of like to, I don't know, let it wash over me or something, which is not effective as a student. But anyway, so what I thought I would do is look at Kurt Vonnegut's 8 rules and see if he follows his rules. So this is what I got. Don't feel the time, number 1, don't feel the time wasted. Don't feel that you're wasting the reader's time. I don't. Even the time that, and I'm paraphrasing because I didn't write down his exact rule, but that's what I got that it is don't waste the reader's time. I enjoy even with information that isn't absolutely vital, I guess, everything that he said, I think, does show, like, character and the setting and, like, this little interesting town and all the people who are in the theater who all have other jobs, I feel like do contribute to character development, to the overall story. But even when he repeats a little bit, like, thanks a lot or whatever, which I could see being crossed out in a writing workshop, I like it. I don't feel like it wasted my time at all. I like that I kind of fell into that narrator's voice and he carried me with him. Give the audience a character they can root for. I root for Helene. I was rooting for her the whole time. She was this, like, insecure, complex character in the beginning, and then she falls in love, and I rooted for her to get her man, and she does. All the characters should want something, and they do. Helene wants Harry. Like, she seems to, when she tries out for the play, she seems to want to feel something, to be better. Like, she can tell that she stinks as an actress when she first tries out, and she wants to she's just this, I like that she's this character that travels from town to town just fixing machines, and she wants to not be so robotic. She wants to feel and emote, and she does that, and I was rooting for that too. Um, every sentence should either reveal character or advance action, and I think it does. I think you get like a sense of the town, uh, um, the characters themselves, and just little details about characters, like even the director in the very beginning when um, sorry. Um, where it says, so I got stuck with the directing job, even though the only thing I'd ever directed before was the installation of combination aluminum storm windows and screens I'd sold. That's what I am, a salesman of storm windows and doors, and here and there a bathtub enclosure. As far as acting goes, the highest rank I ever held on stage was either butler or policeman, whichever's higher. And so I think, maybe it's the first, anyway, Doris Sawyer, who always directs, said she couldn't direct this time because her mother was so sick, and that the club ought to develop some other directors anyway because she couldn't live forever, even though she made it safely to 74. So it talks a little bit about the talent. Like, these are not professional actors. And another thing I like about this narrator is you can tell that he might not even be in the theater, because he keeps calling Harry's part Marlon Brando, and that's not even the character's name. Marlon Brando was just the actor who played Stanley Kowalski in the film in the 50s, but he never says the name Stanley Kowalski. Yeah, I thought he did, like, it moved the characters forward, it moved the action forward. Number 5, start as close to the end as possible. I'll be honest, I don't know what that means. Neil, you might have explained it. I don't remember. If it means, like, don't have a short story, like, start off in one period of time and then end 10 years later, I don't know. I mean, this is, like, from the very beginning of the play, from tryouts to the end of the play, so maybe that's what he means. I don't know. Kurt, I'll have to Google that. So, maybe I should have before I made this video. Be a sadist. There's some, and he says to be a sadist to make your character struggle. And at first, I thought, well, I don't know if the short story does that because it ends happy, but that's not necessarily what that means. It doesn't have to end happy. Helene gets rejected by Harry. He just walks off of stage, and then and she's upset. But that makes her rethink her strategy for getting her man, I suppose, and be bold and try and go after him in a really creative, clever way. So I think that Vonnegut does that. 7, write to just one person. That's personal. I don't know who Kurt Vonnegut was writing to. That would be interesting. And number 8, give your readers as much information as possible in the beginning. And he does. He gives us a lot of information in the beginning of the short story. In fact, we don't even get to dialogue. We get to dialogue about the second page. This is a good, like, tight short story, really. And it makes me wonder how much he took out. I would love to know I would love to know what his first draft was like, and what he decided to take out, what he decided was not moving the characters and the plot forward. And almost like watching the cut scenes of a movie at the very end of a DVD. Like, I would like to know what he cut out of this thing. I guess, like, with the 8 rules, I would give him a 7.5. He gets an A- for following his own rules. And another thing that I think is just great, the last thing I want to say about this is the characters. Like, I love Helene. I love that what I think he did really well, and this is going into 14 minutes now, so I'll finish up. What I think he did really well was he made it believable that Helene fell in love with Harry, because she goes on about how the people that she's able to connect with emotionally has been actors and actresses in movies. because she's moved around too much to really become attached to living people, but she gets attached to these actors and actresses. So, and then she meets like this great actor and falls in love with that, and the way that she is able to get his attention in the end and get him to fall in love with her is she brings a scene from Shakespeare, a love scene, and has him act out a love scene with her. And I think that's also believable because what we know of Harry is that is his comfort zone. So they each meet each other in their comfort zones, and feel safe with each other, right? So like she's discovered that she loves acting with him, and he just loves acting, so it doesn't even really matter that he's got no personality besides what he is on stage. I mean, maybe long term, I don't know how long they're able to pull off this relationship when they're both acting like other people, but it works for the purposes of the very beginning of what we know of their courtship and the very beginning of their marriage. And I just love how these quirky characters come together in a way that fits. I think that Vonnegut did a really good job of that.